Have you ever stopped to wonder what something is really worth? We tend to think of price as this fixed, solid number. But honestly, it's a strategic game. It's a dance between what a seller wants and what a buyer is willing to give. So let's dive into the art of pricing, a fascinating world where value is totally subjective and pretty much everything is up for grabs.
So let's kick things off with the million-dollar question. What is the right price for a car, a cup of coffee, or even a piece of software? Well, the honest truth is, there is no magic number. That whole idea of a single, fair price, it's pretty much a myth. It's really just a starting point for a conversation, a negotiation.
You know, this quote from Coach Bank Superkit just hits the nail on the head. Price is a number the producer assumes the consumer is willing to pay. Notice that word assumes. It's not some rigid calculation of costs and profit. It's a story. The seller is making an educated guess at what you think it's worth. And that right there sets the stage for a fantastic duel of perception.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack why price is really just a story. Then we'll take a look at the seller's playbook, how they tell a really convincing one. After that, we're going to arm you with the buyer's countermoves. And finally, we'll see what happens when these two playbooks clash and help you figure out your best next move.
Okay, Section 1, price is just a story. I want you to think of every single transaction as a battle between two storytellers. The seller is weaving this tale about premium quality and incredible value, while the buyer is making a case for a bargain. And the winner? Well, it's pretty simple, whoever tells the more convincing story.
So, let's dive into the seller's playbook, all about how to command a higher price. Now, this isn't about just slapping a bigger number on something and hoping for the best. No, it's about building a story of value that's so powerful, so compelling, that the buyer just has to agree with it. So how do they do it?
The wholesaler strategy really boils down to two main moves. First, they build a case for what I'd call irresistible value, making the product seem so obviously superior you can't deny it. And second, they go to work removing every little bit of friction or hesitation a buyer might feel, making it incredibly easy to just say yes.
And look, building value isn't just a bunch of marketing fluff. We're talking about real, tangible things. Sellers justify a high price with top-notch quality, real leather instead of fake stuff. They add strong guarantees, which is really just selling you peace of mind. They offer amazing customer service so you feel like you're taken care of. And they can even offer customization, which makes you feel like this thing was made just for you.
But having a great product, that's not always enough. The smartest sellers also work on the psychology of buying. A $500 price tag feels kind of painful, right? But $50 a month for 10 months, suddenly that feels way more manageable. That's an installment plan. Offering convenient delivery, that saves you your most precious asset, your time. And framing the price, oh, that's a classic. A $10,000 watch seems crazy expensive until you see it sitting next to a $20,000 one. Suddenly, it looks like a pretty good deal. That's relative pricing in action.
Okay, but maybe the most powerful tool in the wholesaler's toolkit isn't a feature or a benefit at all. When you strip everything else away, here's the bottom line. People buy from people they like and trust. A great personal brand or just a friendly, honest salesperson can be the single biggest reason you close a deal, even if the price is a little high.
All right, enough about the sellers. Let's flip the whole script, because as a buyer, you are not powerless here. Oh no, you have your very own playbook, a whole set of countermoves that are designed to challenge the seller's story and rewrite that price tag in your favor.
Now, before we get into any specific tactics, you have to get this one golden rule deep into your bones: walk-away power. Real strength in a negotiation doesn't come from being loud or aggressive. It comes from being unattached. The second you are genuinely, truly willing to walk away from a deal, boom, you hold all the cards. Your ability to not need it is your greatest weapon.
So this first set of tactics, it's all about playing mind games. You start by becoming an expert on whatever it is you're buying. Knowledge is pure leverage. Next, and this is so important, hide your excitement. Play it cool. If a seller knows you've fallen head over heels in love with something, you just lost your edge. Always act like you've got other options, even if you don't. And finally, do some research on the seller. Are they under pressure to sell? Knowing what motivates them can change the entire game.
Next up are the power plays. This is all about structuring the negotiation itself so it benefits you. If you can, always negotiate on your home turf. It just gives you a psychological boost. Make the other person invest their time and travel to see you. Use deadlines to create a sense of urgency. And oh, this is a big one. Never, ever waste your breath negotiating with someone who can't actually make the final decision. You've got to get to the person in charge.
And finally, you gotta bring the receipts. I mean that literally. Don't just say there's a flaw, point to it. Don't just say you have a budget, show them the numbers on a spreadsheet. See, people are just wired to believe physical evidence more than words. A written offer from a competitor, that's your best friend. And through all of this, you have to project confidence. Your personality alone can signal whether you're going to be an easy sale or a tough negotiator.
So we've seen both playbooks. Now for the really fun part. Let's put them in the ring together and see what happens when a seller's move meets a buyer's countermove. This is the strategic face-off.
So picture this. The seller is going on and on. Our quality is simply unmatched. The craftsmanship is perfect. But the expert buyer who's done their homework, they lean in and calmly say, you know, I did notice this one tiny little scratch right over here. In that one instant, the seller's whole story of perfection just took a major hit, and the door for a price drop just swung wide open.
Okay, here's another classic showdown. The seller says, hey, to make things easy, we'll deliver it right to your doorstep. They're adding value through convenience. But the smart buyer counters with a power play. They say, you know what? I'd feel a lot better if you could come to my office to finalize the deal. By making the seller invest more time, more energy, the buyer subtly shifts the power dynamic. Now the seller is more eager to close the deal, just to make that trip worth it.
So after all these strategies, these moves and countermoves, who actually wins the price game? Let's figure that out and find your next move.
And the answer might actually surprise you. It's neither of them. The winner of the price game isn't decided by which side of the table you happen to be on. It's decided by who did their homework, who understood the other person's playbook, who came in with a rock-solid strategy. Success doesn't come from being a buyer or a seller. It comes from being the better prepared negotiator.
So, the next time you step into any kind of negotiation, remember what we've talked about. You're now armed with the playbook for both sides of the game. So the real question isn't, what's the price? The real question is, what's your strategy? So, what's your next move?